and a dollop of whipped cream. So, this just keeps getting worse and worse, doesn't it? This is definitely one of those things. We like these. We like this kind of thing in the game industry. You know, like just like a company does something stupid. Why am I holding a pen? Company does something dumb, and like we don't like it, and then just like things just kind of keep getting worse. Just like worse and worse. You got your famous examples. You got your Fallout 76s and your Cyberpunks. And I'm not trying to say that this is even along those same lines. Not nearly as extreme. It's just funny. It's funny when it happens. Give me my pen back. I want that. Okay, so Nintendo, we don't have to go over the whole thing. You know what's up. Nintendo announces the new pricing scheme for Nintendo Switch Online, the expansion pack, and we're not happy. No one's happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to pay for Animal Crossing DLC. I don't want to pay for Sega Genesis games. I just want N64 games. That's a lot of extra money per year. But you know what? I got 7 other people on my family plan. I'm completely maxed out and getting the best possible deal. I don't want to cheap out on those people. They probably want to play N64 games and stuff. So I think, okay, I got a channel. I got no channel. I'm doing a channel where I do Nintendo stuff. I'm probably gonna want to capture footage of those games and stuff. Fine, I'll do it. I'll pay the stupid money. I'll get the stupid expansion pack. As of this recording, the service launched last night. I did not get a chance to check it out. Just, you know, didn't have time. And but I woke up this morning and I checked my phone, and it's fine because everyone else has been checking it out for me. It's kind of like, this isn't the kind of thing that felt like it needed to have a problem. You know what I'm saying? It really didn't, because, you know, they make us pay for online, then they give us NES and Super NES, and it's like, okay, we don't want to pay, but it's cool, and it just kind of works, and that's what you get. But it really didn't feel like it needed to go beyond the pricing issue here. It felt like that was a good enough of a problem, and yet somehow, like, the process of putting N64 games on NSO has led to just like more than, okay, so let's go over it. So let's go over the first big issue that pops up when you boot the thing up. The button mapping. Okay, so, you know, on the N64 controller, like, you got A and B, but then they decided to map those to the actual A and B on the Switch controller. I mean, I guess because they wanted the in-game prompts to be more accurate or something, but it's like, that's not how it was shaped on the N64 controller. I don't understand why they felt the need to do that. Even just like showing you the little screen where it shows the Switch controller and it shows the N64 controller, it's just like already confusing, especially because they're trying to incorporate some of the C buttons, but it's not in the same position that it was before. So, like, that's already weird and annoying. In any game, I've always been a B and Y kind of guy, probably because of the N64 controller. That's how it was. I want to rock my thumb that way, but for some reason they stuck to the A and B on the other side, and it's weird. Okay, but like, then N64 has Z and it has R, basically our equivalent of L and R today. And I mean, it's like, I get, sorry, okay, Z. You press the trigger, you press ZL, okay? But then R is just R. It's the bumper. So like most of the, I mean, like in an N64 game, you're almost never using the actual L and R. You're using Z and R. So like that's how it should have been, right? Like 99% of the time people are playing these games, they're using Z and R. So how about like have it be ZL and ZR, and then if you want to use the actual L, then you can do, or a setting. Like why isn't there just like a setting or something that switches it? It's so weird, just like booting up any old game and having to keep one finger on ZL and one finger on R. It's incredibly awkward. I could sort of see the logic, sort of, like just like, oh, well, you know, your finger was down here and then your right finger was up here. Like it sort of makes sense, but it just doesn't practically make sense. And here's the thing. Okay, there's no way to change the button mapping. This is what's so confusing. The Virtual Console, the Wii U Virtual Console, you could remap anything you wanted right there in the thing. It was incredibly easy. That option isn't here. Like, why would that be an option then, but not now? What benefit is there to Nintendo to not give us that option now, especially when this is a newer version of this whole thing? This is supposed to just be better. We're not even paying outright for them anymore. This is a service. You want us to be paying in perpetuity, and you can't even give us, I mean, like, they could patch it in later, I guess, but like, come on. And yes, on the Switch, you can change button mapping for basically any game. which is fine. It's just annoying that you have to go that extra step. And you have to, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to do anything outside of the game. And then the actual button prompts that the, you know, on the Switch, not in the game, but on the Switch menu end of things, like, now those button prompts are going to be wrong because you had to remap the buttons. It's just like, why? Okay, so moving on. We're hearing a lot of reports about input delay, and this is not one I'm willing to jump on quite yet. Because most of the people actually doing tests, it seems like there isn't much of a difference. It could be that the original N64 games had this delay and we just got used to it, or just that, like, I haven't been able to dig out my N64 or anything, but I did test out Super Mario 64 and Star Fox 64 on the Wii U Virtual Console versus the Switch versions, and I can't find any difference at all. Other people have done tests on Ocarina of Time versus the actual original, and there's not really much of a difference at all there. So I don't really know. It could be one of those things where someone said it and now it's kind of going around and now we're all noticing the input delay that was always there. Not really sure, so that'll require more testing or whatever. But then, like, I mean, you know, I understand that emulating a 3D game is always going to be a lot more complicated than emulating a 2D game, but, like, we're having these emulation issues too. Mario Kart 64, Ghost Data used the memory pack, like you had to buy a memory card basically for the game in order to do Ghost Data, and it's just not supported. Like, Nintendo didn't take the time to just come up with a way to do this, and I'm not 100% sure if maybe it was like this on the Virtual Console one too, but if that's the case, then that's bad in that case too, and this is the newest version that we're paying forever for, so you should come up with a solution there. And then we're getting issues. It's probably one of the worst, is that we're getting issues with games that use fog. And Derek from Stop Skeletons from Fighting had a really good little comparison here, comparing the Shadow Link battle, because it's like, you know, there's a bunch of water and fog and everything, comparing the different versions of the game, and the Switch one is like broken completely. Like, the fog is just kind of not there, and it, like, the fog had an effect that combined with the water, so it makes the water look terrible. Like, that just stinks. You know, not every area and every game is going to rely on this, but, like, that, you never know when you're going to hit something like this, where it's just like, oh yeah, that looks awful. This is not like the definitive version of the game or anything. But yeah, here's another little thing. Apparently the Japanese version of Super Mario 64 used the rumble. And, like, so now if you want rumble, you have to use the Japanese, like, you have to go download the Japanese version of the service if you want rumble on Super Mario 64, which is like, I get it, but it's another small detail that, like, you really couldn't have put in just a little bit of extra effort to get in there and get rumble working. Like, I don't know exactly how all this works, but come on, it's such a little thing. Were you really just not willing to do anything? Just anything extra at all? Another thing I'm not 100% sure about, it might be too early to tell, you know, and I'll be covering all this. Like, once this all comes out, it's been a little while and we know the extent of all this, I'll be making a whole other video, don't you worry. But, like, another thing is, some people have reported frame rate issues. I'm less sure on this because a lot of it seems to be people who are playing online, although that is worth saying. I mean, at this point, I expect the online to be bad, but I suppose I shouldn't, like, say, oh, but it's always bad. Like, okay, no, if it's not working, if that's another one of the things that they are charging us for in this service is playing online, and if it just doesn't work, then okay. But I don't really know. Some people are saying it's fine for them. Maybe it's just bad for other people with bad connections. I don't know. In my time with the game, I've not had frame rate issues. Games I haven't played a whole ton. Kane says he's had some problems with his with Mario Kart 64, but he might have an issue with, like, his TV or his capture thing. We're not 100% sure on that. So this is one I definitely want to wait and see. Now, are N64 games on NSO completely unplayable? Just a horrible, horrible mess? No. Definitely not. Your average person is probably going to play them and not really notice any problems, and if they have a problem with button mapping, you can just go do that in the menu. It's mostly okay. You know, it's fine. It gets the job done. The problem is with how Nintendo is presenting this service. The entire problem is in the packaging. When we were paying 20 bucks a year and we got NES and Super NES, that felt like a bonus, you know? Like, that was a low enough amount of money that those were just kind of like, they felt like they were thrown in. They felt like a good deal. But now that we're paying what most people feel is an exorbitant price, like now that we're paying what most of us have decided is way too much for these games, it's a lot harder to swallow. You expect the service to be basically perfect if they're making us pay this much. So the pricing is a problem. Obviously, it's a very big problem. But for me, it kind of goes beyond that. It's also the game library itself and how it is being given to us. When it comes to these problems with individual games, you know, the fog issues and the expansion pack, like these are emulation issues, basically because it seems they have one kind of emulation thing going, and this is just how the game is run on that engine, that emulator, whatever it is. And it's just kind of like, okay, you just got to deal with it. They threw them all on there. It feels like they just lumped them in there without any optimization at all. And that would make sense. It would make, well, at least more sense. Every product should be as good as it can be, but it would make more sense if they had just given us the whole N64 library. Every game that they were planning to give us, they dropped it on there. There's like 100 games on there. It's just like, here you go. You got all, like, this is a subscription service. Now you have all the N64 games. Okay, they're not all gonna run great because they're all running on this emulator, but here you go. But that's not what they have done at all. Instead, they've given us, to start, this very small, seemingly curated selection of a handful of N64 games. And in the future, presumably at a slow pace, because that's usually how they work, they will be giving us more. Over time, all of their actions are suggesting that this is a very curated, deliberate collection. Why would they wait? Like, if all they're doing is dumping the ROMs onto here, then why are they even waiting for the next ones? It makes it seem even more artificial than ever that they're withholding them just to give them to us slow, when these aren't even good emulations. They're not even they're not even doing their jobs. The reason you're supposed to give people a small collection and then slowly give them more is because each one is taking time. Each one is taking an effort to get running perfectly. And like, we're not even talking like a dramatic amount of work here, you know? Like, I mean, again, you know, we'll always bring it up. People doing emulation elsewhere, they're making really great versions of these games because they're taking the effort to go in and fix them up and change, you know, fix these problems, make changes. And the fact that Nintendo is not willing to do that, I mean, like, okay, maybe they will in the future, maybe it'll be updated, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Right now, I just went and paid them an extra 50 bucks so that I could play these games and all the people on my plan could play these games. And they're not in a very good state right now. This is not a curated collection. This is not doing what it's supposed to do. Nintendo is supposed to mean quality. Like, that's what they want us to think. They want us to believe that Nintendo means quality. But it's hard to feel that, to really feel that, when it seems like they are charging as much as they think they can possibly get away with to give us a service that they do as little work on as possible. They are charging so much for so little when we know that they have all of the resources possible to make all of this perfect and still make a bunch of money out of it, that it feels very cynical. It's one of those things that just, like, you know, we all know they like to make money, but it takes it a step or two too far, where you're just like, dude, Nintendo, no. What are you doing? This is too much. It's just too much. It's like I said before, it's like moving away from Virtual Console model to the subscription service model. I get it, because that is a long-term decision. They want us to be paying for this pretty much forever. Okay, I get it. But, like, you have to then make the service into something that we want to pay for forever. You can't be so cheap and so lazy on it that you get everyone like, no, I'll pay for this later. I'll pay for it if you make it better. I'll pay for it if you add 1,000 games, but I'm not paying for it now. If you want to sustain this model, you have to make the model sustainable. It's just kind of basic, isn't it? If instead of letting me purchase these games, you want me to pay for them forever, then you have to make it worth it for me to pay for them forever. Because at this point, like, if I didn't have that maxed out family plan, there's no way I would do this. I might sign up for like a month just to check it out, do a video or whatever. But no, it's awful. It's an awful, awful deal. You're also supposed to kind of like kind of sweeten the pot early on, you know? You're supposed to make people want to get in at the ground floor, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to make people wait. But they've even been like, okay, and all of these other N64 games will come later. So a lot of people are like, okay, like maybe I'll pay for this, but not until later. Not until all of those games come. But anyway, now we're just kind of circling back around to the initial problem with the price in the library and everything. I hope they fix this. I wish I had hope that they would come and make, you know, small adjustments to these games. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll update the emulator or something. They've had a lot of time to do that and they haven't done it, but I don't know. In the meantime, I'm really sorry if this is your first time playing Ocarina of Time and you get to the Shadow Link battle and it's not supposed to look like that, okay? Like go watch somebody, go look at a screenshot or something so you kind of get it in your head what it's supposed to look like. It's not supposed to look like it does there. Well, let me know what you think about all this. Are you having any problems that I've not covered here? Are there more problems that are being unearthed even as I speak? And should I keep having a pen? I like having a pen. I'm having fun. It gives you something to do, you know? Swoop, swam, zippity zam. Abracadoo. Expecto Patronum. Anyway, have a good day. And if you'll excuse me, I gotta go shoot a Skillshare ad. See you later. Ow.